I want to share an idea or the view of minimalist. I want to talk about this little room that I'm staying in this hotel with my bike sitting there, small refrigerator, and the sink and all the other stuff. Very tight. But it's like my going back to the days when I traveled in New Zealand every year, 3, 4 months in a minivan. And before that, I was in a small car called Tarsel, and I have to put my car in the slope so that I can have my legs up and I can sleep in that little car. I traveled around. I remember precisely because it's been like more than 15 years I did in the South Island. And then I went to the North Island and furthermore. What happened if you are in a tight situation, like in the car or in this hotel, and I moved out of the other house when I had some relationship with a woman, but it ended when I had to find a place, and I like this place. Everything is in order after a month and a half, and I like to come back. It's not the fancy hotel at all, it's the opposite. But there's a library nearby and walking distance, the YMCA, and the food shop, the Japanese food shop and so forth down the street. And even they call it public storage, the storage area that I can borrow with a small amount, like $29 a month, to put my stuff when I'm gone. So I'm still figuring out how things can be orchestrated. And I am to leave December the 2nd, and the 1st is the day, December the 1st is the day I have to move everything out and get ready and fly out to New Zealand. There's a house there in New Zealand. Then I go to Japan and I stay in the backpackers inn. I was a manager there, but maybe as a client, only $10 a day or so. I'm cooking by myself. And then to Hawaii, I think so. I was staying at my cousin's place. And then back to Santa Monica, where I will be. After a month and a half, everything is ordered. So this is the story of a minimalist, and make the most of what we got. The idea of the minimalist makes sense, especially when you get older. It's better to throw things away and give away, and then use only what's needed. I don't have a car, but the bicycle can do, and also the bus and the metro, I can go around. And I have a way to find the food in a very, very economical way. It's amazing. I may have time to talk about it some other time. And a friend, just a few friends to help me. So what's the main point of this that I want to share? The point is that waste elimination, the book I wrote, and that also connect to the utilizing the talent of people, in this case myself. So that was about organization that I wrote a book about. And I practiced the same thing that I shared in the book, which is called New Manufacturing Challenge. You can find it in the web archive, free to borrow. And all the ideas I shared there is living here. And when I get older and older, at 76 and on, you have to figure out the sequence of events and be prepared. All the unnecessary should be going away so that you don't waste your time and energy to look for it or have a place and then go back and forth to move around. It's not convenient if you have to find things and hidden there and too much things get into the way. So you want to minimize as you get older, especially, But I believe if you think about your life, the same may apply because you want to be, in a way, flexible and living in this world. And if you have too many things, it's not gonna hinder you to make a judgment because you get tied down to the location and the things that you have accumulated. The books I had a lot, but over time it just diluted and less, and I have only maybe, I don't know, 100 books or less, maybe 50 books that will be stored. But what's amazing is that this minimalist idea is connected to waste elimination, but applies to my own waste, physical situation within myself to organize and have all the organs functioning, cylinders all running, simultaneously connect to each other to be healthy. So exercise going to wine, jacuzzi, sauna, and the how do you call resistance exercise, weightlifting and stuff like that. And meeting people in sauna, it's just down the road. The library is there. You can even read, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all that every day if you want to, on top of what you can do through the internet. In fact, I have two computers, very cheap. At the, one is refurbished one, and the other one is original from 2015 model. I'm still using it, and I'm still trying to figure out the maximum usage so that the memory, unnecessary things could be thrown away. And because of the two computers, I can have two displays to work with. And if when something goes wrong, you can get by from the other and then reintroduce or transfer stuff, programs to update, things like that. If you only have one, there's some limitation. Some certain things like this, having a redundancy would be a helpful thing. So I am not still trying to get to the new model because I'm working with like a chat GPT to figure out gradually how to put all the stuff unnecessary into the hard disk, stored, not used so often, and focus on here and now what need to be done and simplify life. Waste elimination, in that book I mentioned about simplify, combine, or eliminate. Eliminate is the best, not so then combine or simplify. So standardize it according to the use, the priorities, and so forth. It requires wisdom, and more you do it, more you see the problem. One of the examples is 5S. If I remember the Japanese part, seiketsu, I don't remember anymore. I wrote a book about it because Japanese and English has some difficulty. It's about housekeeping and organization. There's a discipline, and also actually the posture is important. I thought it's part of the S, the 5S. Seiketsu, soji, shitsuke, all the S's in there. I wrote the book, but it's not necessary to carry it, so it's gone. When you can find anything on the record, don't carry it. That's what Einstein said. Maybe that's also the same thing about simplifying and focus, the mission, the priority item, and unnecessary inventories may have to go. I thought about keeping all the names of the people and so forth, and it's polite to do that, but at the same time, this constraint, as you're getting older and the cognitive ability declining, you have to strategize, again, what's so important. But the organization is very interesting and important way to bring out the wisdom. And it takes time to organize things and so that things flow. And I still get lost some of the items where I put it. But that's part of the game as you get older. But even at your early age, if you don't have a good process and organization, you don't do well. It's not just the physical housekeeping and organization, but the mental housekeeping and organization of what kind of ideas that you have and monitor and go through plan, do, check, act, a continuous improvement process to keep on refining and have a cycle of refreshing to keep up to date. So sila, samadhi, panna is much deeper, and plan, do, check, act, or starting with check, CAPD, check, act, plan, do, continuously, is a way to keep this flow going in the house, in this room, as well as my mind. And because I travel from one location to the next, I have to plan ahead and also to come back and how I can start. Like it was yesterday, now I'm back and what to do. So I to organize labeling the names and the package and so forth and put into the storage, which is 5 by 5 by 4 feet, not the large one, but including the bicycle. I disassembled it. And some paintings that I have, only 2 of them that I like to keep it, and all the clothes and the tools and everything else, all the medicines and the nutritions and how to organize. You think it like a game, important game. If the situation is organized, up to date, and cleanliness, seiketsu is one of the S, cleanliness, keeps us to be fit, alive in the moment when you make the judgment. And even the tables I'm using from the camping, and the chair is also foldable, and therefore both can be folded and doesn't take some space. What's interesting is that it just happened this way. Because of the way I lived and kept those things, and other things I don't need, just give away and leave it on the aisle, so people come picking up. Maybe homeless people may get it. Or I had lots of paintings that I painted, left out there, as much as all the other ornament and stuff. But that's life. You don't want to carry heavy stuff with you to clean up the mind so that you can, this is visual control. What's important is made visible also in your mind, so that you can access and have a protection, like in the case of the computer and the iPhone. I have mobile phone and bicycle, and it's like when I did this nuclear safety in Fukushima, I did analysis and design in the 1970s, redundancy and the idea of certain key issues like a computer. If something breaks down, you have a backup. But when it comes to bicycle, you can have a backup. I don't want to carry 2 bicycles, so you have to be very wise how to not get into the trouble. I posted some video about it, riding for 1 hour and a half and thinking if I get the puncture, then what happens? So all of I mentioned about the FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis, or fault tree analysis. Those are the rational way of thinking of, so that you don't get into trouble and have a safety in mind. In the case of Fukushima, they had a trouble because the assumption was wrong about the seismic issue, but also the diesel generators redundant, but at the same area. So the tsunami hit and both of them is gone. So those are the experiences of life, not just the concept, but as an engineer, but also practicing and living in New Zealand in a car and be efficient and have fun to live in the moment. Only carrying just a few books or 1 book at a time, when I spent 3-4 months in New Zealand, different rivers all over, and sleeping in the mountains and eating and all of that, and only get the stuff necessary at the town when it's needed, but then back to the mountain. So in a way, I have practiced knowing or without knowing, and also because of the exploratory nature of what I want to do, but also about life. Whatever the given the situation, how can it be prepared and more flexible? In this turbulent world, the mind has to be clear. Things have to be organized. Think the failure mode analysis, what can go wrong? Political scenes, or the war, or the climate, and what kind of assets do you have? Is it more liquidable, easy to get out, or should it be stock and all that? That's another question. But also in this case, for my time at 76, I worked on the living trust, and it's almost done, and the will to be completed. So I get lighter, not worry about what's going to do. And by the way, 95% almost of my asset I have will go to Vipassana, because I got a lot out of it in relation to Zen. But the Zen approach is very good, but who are the Roshi to go with? And they have their own issues. So Vipassana has more standardized process, which is my like, and anybody who would go through the process can possibly get the benefit because of the way it's standardized. So if I just talk about the Vipassana a little bit, I think the idea is like the idea of, if you want to feed someone, teach them how to fish, but not giving fish, kind of idea. For us to live better, the criteria number one is for us to have the good judgment capability to do the right thing. And that goes through the idea of plan, do, check, act, but also sila, samadhi, panna. Sila, right conduct; samadhi, calm and quiet mind, no mind and no self; and the panna is the wisdom, insight, or awakening. So that's the continuous process of sila, samadhi, panna, sila, samadhi, panna. Daily, every day is new, every moment is new. And the PDCA is less of the heart and the deep-seated unconscious to be part of the coming up with the wisdom, but rather more of a brain-related, thinking process. So it's tying to the heart-based approach of continuous improvement, living in the now, and also using the brain, which we have, to think about the plan to check in the longer term, bigger perspective, using the mind in the society, what's happening. So those two can be connected and practiced. And for that, I also have the plan to check act cycle, using this idea of PDCA applied, what I call the life profile that I shared in my video, which is to look into 6 areas. One is the be sincere and truthful, and the second is the related to the work, and third is the hobby, and then relationship, and the finance. So those 6 areas I monitor every 3-4 months for the last 24 years or so, and continue doing it. But also, living in the now is the process of sila, samadhi, panna. Be aware of what's going on, like in this case, organization, what's where and what's not, and what need to be done. And samadhi, have a calm and quiet mind, organize better. Then when it's needed in certain situation at the time, you can grab and do things, but also connect to the brain-related structure of how to process all the information coming from outside, but then connect it to the connected to the brain, connected to the heart, the wisdom and compassion. So I mentioned about the minimalist idea and titled the waste elimination, utilizing our talent. And those are the two layers of the process combined, but based upon such ideas that I shared in the first book, housekeeping, organization, and flow of the event, and then connecting to PDCA with the mini company, mini-me idea, which I shared in elsewhere, to integrate, have a good sense. That's the awareness we want, and to make the most of what we got as talent and live a happy life. Minimalist, waste elimination, coming up with idea, making the most of what we got. And hopefully that helps me individually, but also help others. So may all beings be happy. Just an idea. Thank you.